Well, the art of piano tuning, which is what it should be called, because it's not a heavy-duty thing or activity like being a plumber or a carpenter or whatever. There is a physical element to it, and you've got to have the ability to work hard with your hands. But because it's music and because we're listening to a musical instrument and creating something that at the end of the process should sound beautiful and sound at its best described as an art form. And believe me, after a lifetime in pianos, I still consider myself a person who's learning how to tune pianos. It's something that we are constantly working on. I suppose most tradespeople are constantly learning new ways and being on the lookout for better ways to do things and to get better results. And it might only be a tiny little thing that you discover, but almost every time you walk up to a piano that's out of tune and go through the process of putting it right, something dawns on you, either about that piano itself or about the art of piano tuning. Now, pianos ideally should be tuned to A440, that's the frequency that we've used, and we've called this concert pitch now for nearly 100 years. But there have been several concert pitches over the years, usually in lower and lower frequencies as we go back through history. But A, there's one here, should coincide nicely with the A440 tuning fork. Now, it's very hard for me to demonstrate it, but what a tuner does is we knock it onto our knee, it's quite painless, and then press that, not the earlobe, but almost onto the bone of your ear. Now, even though you can't hear that, I've got an A ringing through my head as strongly as ever, and even with traffic noise and things like that, a piano tuner can still quite clearly hear that note. So A440. This is what the piano tuner does when they visit your home. They'll assess to see whether the piano is capable of going to concert pitch. If it's not, and there are genuine reasons, and if it's not really required, we'll often tune a piano within itself. And that's just called a relative tuning, and that's sometimes most comfortable for the piano, and basically what the owner of the piano is happy with and used to having. But concert pitch, we have to make sure that the pins of the piano are good, and the beautiful timber block called the rest plank that the pins go through into, we have to be sure that that's in good order. The strings, well, we're looking at brand new strings here, so we're cheating them. But when we come to a person's home, we assess just as quickly as that. A tuner will assess a piano with our tuning hammer, or the Americans call it a lever, but I prefer its original name, and it's the tuning hammer. That's our spanner, if you like, that we use on the pins. Well, let's go to A. Make sure we're on the right string here. So this piano is only too willing to go to concert pitch, and that's the process it's been going through for the last couple of weeks now in the workshop. And what we do initially is we fit this long tapering felt called a mute. We fit that so that only the middle strings of the piano in that first octave and a half will ring. You can just watch as I do this. So, almost like one of the old jumping jack crackers that we used to let go. This piece of felt now winds its way through that first octave and a half, giving the tuner the chance to manipulate the pins, alter the pitch of the strings, so that we're setting up a nice scale. And once we've established that middle scale, as you may know from your own readings or discussions with musicians and whatever, we then can use that scale to tune right up through the instrument, right down through the bass. It's a lovely process, but it's taxing. You concentrate every second of the way, because if you forget what you're doing, you can break a string, or you can get onto a misleading setup of that scale if you're not concentrating and have to go over it again, and it serves you right if you do. But so this is set up nicely now. Now with the bass strings, we just use a soft tapering felt mute, and that just snugs in neatly to let only one of the two strings in the bass to ring. So we tune down that way. And when we get right down into the single strings in the instrument, we don't use a mute at all, because it's only one string and we deal with that one string at a time. So now I'm going to just repeat this little demonstration of using the tuning fork to establish a nice, strong, accurate A440. So here we go. I'm happy with that. This individual piano has another 2 or 3 tunings to be done over the next couple of weeks. But for the time being, it's pretty well spot on A440. And then once that's established with these ancient tools, and when I say ancient, the piano was developed in the 1640s. So I think it's got every right to be called an ancient craft or trade, or art, as I was saying before, with these humble little tools and a good ear, and of course the training. One can then get this instrument into nice, ready-to-play order with its tuning. So through we go with the tuning process. You'll notice I'm not using any gadgetry, no electronic boxes or scopes as they're called and whatever. Some people like to, and really it's outside of my experience. I was taught the traditional way of piano tuning and harpsichords and other instruments, and that's with a proper infallible reference such as our tuning forks, nothing that needs batteries or electric current. So that, a good ear and the right equipment and training, and the piano is then put into proper playable readiness. And we walk out onto the concert platform at all the beautiful venues where there are grand pianos ready for touring musicians, and with these same humble tools. Admittedly, I might be dressed a little differently, but with these same humble tools, we do it, and international musicians are very pleased to have an instrument that's beautifully tuned. I haven't gone for the electronic thing. I'll leave that to others to decide about that. But the guiding star that I think we should all go by is, what are we preparing an instrument for? We're preparing it for the human ear. You know, we're never going to be listening to an acoustic piano through electronic devices in our own homes. We play it, we enjoy it through our own ears. So what more refined, accurate and wonderful tool could we have at our disposal to do the job other than our own ears? So we keep our ears in good condition as tuners. Some people like to wear little mutes to protect themselves over a long period of time, but once again, I haven't bothered with that. We tune using our ear, our infallible little reference point, and we get it, if you're a good tuner and a good musician, you get that piano sounding beautiful, so that by the time a person is invited to come and listen to the piano, I'll sometimes demonstrate it if they're not happy to play in front of me. Play a couple of little things, nothing too long-winded, just to let them hear the beauty of the sound. Admittedly too, at some of the lovely concert halls, we piano tuners who are also musicians always take a moment to sit there and play and pretend almost that we're a concert pianist. But in a funny way, that's part of the job too, because then you really are putting that instrument under the finest test. You're imagining there's an audience. You're listening to that beautiful piano. That might sound as if it only applies in those situations, but the same principle applies in a person's home. I get just as much satisfaction personally as a musician and tuner in walking away from a humble, upright piano, even one that's very old, knowing that I'm getting the best sound out of that instrument for the people involved. So that's a little bit about piano tuning. I hope it's been interesting. As an apprenticeship, there are apprenticeships available once again here in Melbourne and in Sydney. It's a tough course, but when I did it was even tougher. We had to have a music degree before we started, and then an apprenticeship with my father, which lasted 7 years. And then I felt confident to go to people's homes and venues and to tune. Now, I'm not bragging about that. That's the way it was done then. It was about the same length as the clockmaker's apprenticeship. That's 7 years. But we had to have a degree in music before we started, and I don't regard that as a waste of time either.